Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. And today I get to sit with my friend, Troy Niday, rhymes with Friday, uh, who is a founder and consultant. He's doing some really cool things in the world that we're going to talk about. Troy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Johnny. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a good time. So I always ask for an interesting fact, an interesting tidbit. And one of the ones you gave me is that you have been a board chair for many years of various human services organizations. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Uh, yeah, it was interesting when my wife and I moved to Sonoma County in 2014. We became empty nesters, and I wanted to go give to the community and kind of learn more about Sonoma County. And I wound up associated with Social Advocates for Youth. It was about youth homelessness. Joined the board and quickly became their board chair. And now I'm on the board chair of TLC Child and Family Services, which provides adoption and foster care and mental health services and transitional age housing. I've just found, selfishly, Johnny, I got in it to connect,
Yeah,
and it did that.
yeah,
But to see the work that's done by those frontline individuals who are not richly compensated, and just the care and compassion and the difference that those services mean to those families.
yeah,
It's just neat to be a part of, just to see it in the up close angle.
yeah.
We had one that recently just launched a farm to table program where the kids that are housed on the campus there, they have chickens, they grow vegetables, and then they bring it into the redesigned kitchen, and they learn how to make stuff. They get certified as food handlers. And a neat story about that is and she'll allow this because I've asked permission to call her the lunch lady.
Yeah.
So she was the lunch lady that became a certified teacher and now teaches to the program because the kids loved her. She got into it. So it changed her career and her life
Oh
too,
man.
from lunch lady to to being a mentor and a certified teacher.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff when you get involved in those agencies.
Oh, it's so good. Well, it's good to hear you talk about it because I'm watching you as you talk, and you light up when you talk about this. So there's something about you, something about the way that you're built, and helping others in a meaningful way and transforming lives. Obviously means a lot to you. Can you trace that back to where that comes from?
I grew up in a small family in a small town. You're kind of in those areas in southeast Nebraska during the winter or during a tornado. You're in it together. So
Yeah.
community, etc. And my wife and I suffered a tragedy early in our marriage. We lost a child,
Okay.
and it how you respond to that and want to give back to others. I think that was kind of an inflection point to I could either got grumpy and angry at the
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
or just kind of lean into it. And how do you give? How do you
Yeah.
give back a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there are many people that are grateful for you taking that path of response as opposed to the other one. So let's get that ties us in pretty well then into and just to give everybody an upfront, I guess, view of where we're going. Troy's trying to do some pretty big things. He's building a nonprofit community news organization. Not nonprofit, yes. Did
Yes,
I say that right?
absolutely. Yep, that's
Community
key.
news organization in Sonoma County. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that dream and that dream that is, I think, rapidly coming to fruition. But first, I want to go back and talk a little bit about your origin story so that people get the full narrative as to why this is happening and who you are behind the scenes. So let's start with your media origin story.
Well, in the mid 80s, I graduated from Nebraska Wesleyan University with a degree in economics and a minor in philosophy. And so I got a job, of course, as a newspaper district manager. It was a tight
Winding
time.
route.
Yeah, a matter of
Yeah.
fact, a friend of mine, and somebody you probably know, Pat Dennis, who was a circulation guy for decades in the industry. He'd actually gotten a job. I was friends with him He said, "Look, we're looking for work." And it was one of those opportunities that I just started to advance and grow within the World Herald.
Yeah.
And the old ink got in my blood. From there I went to, was there for 14 years, went to the Phoenix, the Arizona Republic for a while.
Yeah.
Went to the Oklahoman for a while, spent 9 years in Birmingham, Alabama when Advance started their transition from print into digital only. When they brought all 3 properties in Alabama, that was a heck of a learning and a heck of an experience. And then
when was that? When was that?
That started in 2012.
Wow, that early. They were doing that early.
Yeah, so I think we were the second. The Alabama market was their second market, where they had Birmingham, Huntsville, and Mobile as their 3 newspapers that didn't talk to each other. And then I believe it's really a generational change. And it's like, look, this is going to be digital. Let's tear the Band-Aid off. And so we went from 7-day print to 3-day print. I closed down the Huntsville plant, consolidated. I don't know if you know the story where they, the media, the content creators of advertising in the newsroom became the Alabama Media Group. And folks like myself in distribution and production and finance became Alabama Support Services.
Yeah.
And so they separated the companies too. I was up for running that support company. I came in number 2. They said you could stay, but you have to take a haircut, or here's some lovely parting gifts. And voila, here I am in Sonoma County.
Yeah.
Worked for the Press Democrat for the last 11 years until recently, when Alden Global Capital bought them in May, and did what they do, and eliminated half the staff, including my position. So I guess that's almost 40 years of 5 different markets, and just seeing the amount of change, Johnny.
Yeah.
The amount of change that I've been able to witness has been pretty incredible.
What have been some of the more notable changes from where you're sitting? 40 years of experience. You've seen a lot come and a lot go.
The biggest by far is the revenue source. In the 1980s, circulation revenue, that was like being at the side table at Thanksgiving, where the kids used the folding table.
Yeah.
Because advertising, the money was just coming in.
Yeah.
It was basically 85-15 or 80-20 mix, and to where now you're seeing the exact opposite, where audience development, consumer revenue, really an intention to quality subscriptions versus quantity of subscriptions and engagement, different packaging of content. So it really is that. When I got into it, it was kind of at the peak of its heyday.
Yeah.
Then the internet, and then realtor consolidation, and then more social media, and then et cetera, as the technology advanced. It really has become a consumer revenue-driven organization. And also the other thing is the corporate ownership.
Yeah.
When I got into it, 85% of the newspapers across the country were locally owned.
Yep.
Now it's the opposite. 85% are corporate owned. And
wow.
That has made a difference, and then some. And kind of why I'm excited when we get to talk about the nonprofit newsroom. It really is an opportunity to bring back local autonomy and make the storytelling and the journalism really embedded at home versus part of a corporate strategic plan. And did you bring me my 25% margin call?
Yeah. Oh man, we're gonna get into a lot of things. I love speaking with people that have as much experience and stories. Like the stories of how the industry has changed over the years. And so I'm already fascinated.
Well, let me just add one more to that point. So when I was in Omaha, household penetration of the core market. So if there's 100 houses and 50 of them have a newspaper, it's 50% household penetration. The World Herald at that time had 66% of the household had a Monday through Saturday subscription. 76 had a Sunday subscription. It was one of the highest in the nation. But think about that versus today's household penetration of a print product. I mean, 7.5 out of 10 families paid to make sure that that publication was delivered to their home.
And that was 20% of the revenue, right?
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about
Crazy.
yeah. Just phenomenal to think about that. Now if you got 20%, you're best in class.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so much has changed. Yeah. I've got a good friend who talks a lot about, the way that media changed, media 1.0, media 2.0, media 3.0, and how we're kind of in the media 3.0. Guy Tasaka is his name. Guy, I don't know if you've met Guy or heard Guy talk, but he's got the data about how the change happened and how things flipped upside down, and he just shows it to you in these charts, one after another, and it's crazy the amount of change that's happened in just a handful of decades. So I've got a good sense for your origin story and your journey. Now I want to learn a little bit more about you within that framework. So, what were you doing in these different organizations? Why were people advancing you? Right? Like what's the superpower that you bring to the table? What made you good at your job along the way? Draw the line for me, or show me the thread between jobs.
All right. That's an interesting way to frame it. I guess that early on it was grit and work ethic, and not saying, not turning down an assignment, or making sure that, what I did stood out a little bit, making sure everything was accurate. So, did that at the World Herald, bounced up through different circulation jobs. It got to the year 2000 and we needed a new computer system because the world was going to end in the year 2000.
I remember that.
So I was assigned a project to find and then implement that. And we picked an internal software system that the Arizona Republic had developed. And that got me exposure to folks down there. They had an opportunity. I'd kind of reached my peak, it felt, at the World Herald. It's one of those situations where, candidly, you work hard and you build a different reputation, but you still kind of are perceived as that guy that just started. So that fresh start was really an amazing opportunity for me to go to, a 14th largest newspaper. It was independently owned until 4 months later when Gannett bought it. But got to work with some fantastic people and really exposed myself to the business at a larger level and became an assistant circulation director. The other story about our industry is particularly old school, the Gannett's of the world, and it wasn't exclusively the Gannett. If you were an up-and-comer, they were going to pick where you went next. And you could tell them no once, but if you told them no twice, you probably were sidelined.
Okay.
That wasn't written policy, but it was kind of urban legends. After having an opportunity to go somewhere, it was kind of like, I want to control my own destiny. So that's where I found a place at Oklahoma. It was really when I got to Birmingham that I ran the shop then. That was my first directorship. And I soon took over production. And then that transition to where all three markets, I was in the vice president of operations for all of Advance in Alabama. So, taking the experience of those transitions and those projects and, managing those changes and introducing digital-only subscriptions and making sure the budgets were all there. That's kind of where I cut my teeth, just by grinding it and doing the work. And then the other piece was making sure I built good teams along the way. If anything, if I look back in my career, if I would have spent a little more time managing up, I might be in a different situation. But a lot of my focus was making sure my team was taken care of. I really take pride in having left behind kind of a little breadcrumbs of friendships through all the markets that I've been, that I still keep in touch with today. So, I've always viewed it as, this isn't rocket science. It's delivering papers. It's, producing papers. But it's about people. It's about collaborative problem solving, because it is, get up and do it again, get up and do it again. It can be a little exhausting
Yeah.
It's Christmas Day and we still have a paper to get out. It snowed 3 feet, still having paper to get out.
Yeah.
There was a tornado last night, still got a paper to get out.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. So that goes right back to the grit and the work ethic that were the foundation for everything that came after. It sounds like. And so VP of Ops was what you were doing at Advance, and then what were you doing at the Press Democrat?
Chief Operating Officer.
Okay.
Smallest newspaper I'd worked at, but it was locally owned and had a lot of talent at the executive level. Steve Falk, who has been in the industry forever and a day, was the CEO. And Steve just basically said, go get them.
Yeah.
As long as I kept him informed and, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Are you good with it? So had a real good run here, being able to take the Press Democrat was making $12 million in consumer revenue when I got here in 2014, and it was making $20 million when I left. So really helped them make that transformation of, and really that's what was interesting about that is the total revenue kind of stayed the same. So you saw this microcosm of what's going on in the industry in our own, where advertising would go down, consumer revenue would go up. Pie still the same, and was able to actually help the company maintain total revenue while that mix shift dramatically over a decade or so.
Yeah, that's wild. So now, consumer revenue transformation. You have been a person who's been able to manage consumer revenue transformation at a high level. When you say consumer revenue, what products are you referring to?
Yeah, it's a fancy way of saying subscription revenue.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really and I guess it's consumer revenue because it used to be back in the day, it was just about selling a print subscription.
Yeah.
And it was big on discounting. It was more when the audit bureau was big, and it was as long as you had one more unit of net average on the audit, you were a successful circulator.
Yeah.
And so, versus selling subscriptions versus driving consumer revenue has to do with what, particularly the digital products you package and price, and what renewal step points you make.
Yeah.
The retention, the acquisition, the whole, transformation from circ sales to audience development and audience engagement, where you're embedded somewhat in the content, the packaging, the pricing strategy, the onboarding. How do you reinforce the value of it? So that's where I frame it more as consumer revenue management. Because at the end of the day, if you also have to manage, if I lose one print subscription at $1 a day and replace it with a 25-cent digital, I've got to understand that dynamic.
Yeah.
So that you're growing versus trading a print dollar for digital dimes.
For sure. Now, did you say? Did I get this number right? You said you went from 12,000.
12 million in annual revenue to 20.
Okay, 12 million. All right, there we go. Okay, so I was thinking crazy stuff. Okay, so 12 million, but still 12 million in consumer revenue to 20 million in consumer revenue, so almost doubling it, right? So 8 million more. And what I think probably the people that are listening would be really interested to know, what was the majority of what went into that 8 million growth, right? Like if you could trace it to any handful of things, what would it be?
First, I'm not going to say that Troy Niday just made that happen out of whole cloth. This is part of the industry direction the industry was going.
Yes.
So we are somewhat of a Me Too industry. You've been to those conferences where you're learning from each other.
Yep.
The biggest component was, using market-based pricing and just listening to Mathers and saying, all right, don't be afraid. And there's a real science in that versus having these events. So that was it. The other was truly not undervaluing the digital subscription pricing. And I think that's where in Santa Rosa, the one thing that we did different than a lot of folks was, and you've talked to Aaron Katerick too. So Aaron, I believe Aaron. Aaron and I were stubborn, don't underprice digital, keep being bullish on print, where people were given, hey, here's a penny for 6 months. It did not discount digital subscriptions.
Yeah.
The average, when I left, we were getting 75 cents a day on digital. And I think the national average was closer to 25.
Wow.
So early on, we were very, very bullish of not what I would call undervaluing or underpricing digital only subscriptions. Again, it gets back to that differential. I mean, I really wanted to. We're a self-sufficient standalone newspaper that I couldn't play the long game to say, eventually I'll get $1 a day out of those penny every 6 months. So that was a big difference that drove it, particularly locally. And then just the disciplines of all the other touch points that you learn and kind of really professionalizing, the consumer subscription economy, if you will.
Okay, so first question is, who was the person you just mentioned? Because I don't know him.
Eric Katerik. He's in Spokane, Washington now. He's been on. He and I have been through all the sectionals together. Actually, and it's another interesting piece of the industry. I met him at an American Press Institute week in Washington, D.C. in 2001.
Yeah.
Buddies for life. Industry partners. Stay in touch, and that's also been very important to any level of success that I have had is the relationships that I've had with others in the industry that have helped me not only secure, like I wouldn't be here if I didn't if Rich Cox, my old general manager at Phoenix, didn't know Steve Falk had an opening.
So
it's those relationships have really paid off, I can't thank the network enough for making sure I could keep a house, roof over my head all these years.
No, I really resonate with what you just said. We always talk about what's the next right step, which I love that. I love that framework. What's the next right step? But I like to frame it as who's your next right person? Because so much of my growth and opportunity has it's reduced down to people. People that I know, people that I've in relationships that I've invested in. I wouldn't be, there's some of the best things in my life wouldn't have happened without a person who made it happen for me. So I'm with you there 100%.
Amen.
So I have a question, and I think you've given us some insight into this through the last, what's your media superpower? The grit and the determination paired with the experience, the ability to think at a high level. You've kept elevating in the organizations. The COO, right, which is really the engine in a lot of ways, the engine of vision in an organization and making sure that things are truly getting done. But you also have vision too. I've noticed that there's a visionary piece to you as well, which is rare to see somebody who's a very, very strong operator or operations minded individual who also has vision. So what's the transformation that you would say that you bring to any organization that you're a part of?
So one, focus on culture and people.
Okay.
Long subscribe to the culture trump strategy every day.
Yes.
If you can have the best strategy, but if you don't have a culture to execute it, it's not worth the paper that it's printed on.
Yes.
So that's one. The other is a very big, I'll call it GSD, stuff done. That it's about beginning with, I'm a Covey guy from way back, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The begin with the end in mind is usually, in a meeting or two each week. What are we trying to accomplish? What's the end in mind? What's the scoreboard? Let's make sure we move the needle. So when I talk about moving consumer revenue, that was intentional.
Yes.
I mean, that was a team focus.
Yes.
Did we move? Great. That's great. But does it generate revenue? No, we're not going to discount that because that does not, that's the opposite. It didn't move the needle. So, and I get back to, you play sports, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've played basketball and yeah.
Yeah. And so I was playing sports and I was in leadership roles, and it's just, if I hate a vacuum. So if somebody's not setting a strategy and pushing it forward, I'm stupid enough to step in that vacuum and say, let's go do this. It's kind of, you know, if let's be proud of what we accomplish.
Yes.
I
Yes.
remember taking over the production department in Birmingham, and they were a grumpy, cranky old union. And I brought in a new director, and she and I just one word: swagger. I want this group to have a little swagger. I want them to take pride in what they are because they were across the street. They felt, us, them, and I would go
Mm-hmm.
spend time over there. I would
Mm-hmm.
build, I'd walk the floors, walk around the block, and have a conversation
Mm.
to say, what are you trying to accomplish? And then when they started hitting some goals,
Mm-hmm.
they had a little swagger, not in a
Yes.
cocky, arrogant way,
Yes.
but a little shoulders back. We are part of this team. So, bringing that, we're in it together. Let's get things done. GSD kind of
Yep.
scoreboard mentality. I think,
Yep.
that's what I bring to the table is that drive.
Have you heard of a book called The Six Types of Working Genius by
I have not.
Pat
No.
Lencioni? Yeah, so you sound like that. That sounds a lot like the galvanizer gift. There are six different geniuses, as he calls them, and the galvanizer gift is kind of that coach, motivator, assembler, vacuum filler person that's saying, okay, let's round this up. I'm gonna round these people up and let's go somewhere together, right? Like you need the galvanizer. So great book for anybody watching. At
Say
book
the title of it again, please.
It's called The Six Types of Working Genius.
All right. I just had a flashback. We were in an executive committee, the seven chiefs in Birmingham and the publisher, and we had a $3 million gap in a budgeting process. And the publisher, he threw a fit and stormed out of the room and left.
Yeah.
And let the six of us look at each other. And I end up, grabbing a dry erase pen, getting on the whiteboard and saying, all right, let's figure this out, folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of what, all right, there's a vacuum. We still have a problem.
Yep.
We have to solve it.
Yeah.
But I'll lead the orchestra if that's what it takes. Let's go.
Yes. Yeah. I love that gift, actually. That gift has actually been one of the most, because I don't have that gift. That's not my working genius. The galvanizer. You usually have two that are,
with your personality, I'm surprised.
Yeah. So some people, because I do have a strong personality. I've got very strong, very highly relational. I don't like telling people what to do, and I don't like stepping up into the leadership gap. I can I can do it, but
See, I would say I don't like telling people what to do, and that's not my approach. I will step up and do the leadership, but it's how do you draw it out of them?
How do you draw it out? That's true. Also, I just know people that are true galvanizers, and that gift actually has just been useful in my life because I need people to challenge me because the galvanizer can challenge, right? Yeah. They're not all cuddly all the time. Like a galvanizer can.
I've been told that.
Yeah. Can is willing to go to uncomfortable spaces, right? In order to get, GSD, like you said.
Yeah.
Right.
Scoreboard. So, you got to get scoreboard.
We got to get points on the board, right? It's like let's go. And so there's like my book that I wrote. That's a galvanizer in my life. A friend basically told me, Johnny, his name's Alan Briggs. He said, Johnny, you need to stop talking about the book and write it. He said. He said, go on LinkedIn, write an article, write a post about the book and when it's going to be done and tag everybody that you know. And let's get this thing started. And so, there's just, I can trace moments of my life back to that gift. So anyway, I have a great love and respect and affection for that gift that you have. Now with the time we have left, I want to get into how all this whole story that we've talked about, the gifting that we've drawn out, like that you've demonstrated over this entire career of yours, the grit, the determination, the leadership, the galvanizing, the ability to wrangle a team together, inspire a team, and then get points on the board, right? Like that's what you love to do. How does that translate into the new initiative? So tell us about the new initiative, and then let's just riff on that for a while.
All right. So I'll just first frame the new initiative. So my currently I'm doing some consulting. I've got a couple of contracts that's going to put, keep the roof over my head. And when my job was eliminated, I gave a lot of thought to, look, it was a great run in media, and I'll go find something else. But during that time, I've been seeing in a bunch about these emerging nonprofit newsrooms throughout the country. And Johnny, I don't know if you know this, but I just got off a call last week with the Institute for Nonprofit News. There's 500 of those representing 4,100 journalists. I would estimate there's over 1,000 local nonprofit news companies in the marketplace now. So it's not an emerging model, it has emerged.
Yeah.
So I'm taking that model and saying, and candidly, where it's been successful has been in markets where big corporations have taken the local paper.
I see.
Alden Global Capital that bought here locally is that's happened a lot there. That's just facts of where the market. It's happened in Gannett markets. It's happened in Lee markets where the mothership is extracting the profit and diluting the product, and so the market conditions provide that for an opportunity. I saw and I see that opportunity here. My goal is not to replace them. Lord, they need to keep doing what they're doing, but to augment and get us back up to the level of storytelling and journalism that's needed in today's society, that has misinformation, disinformation, lack of information, just not the watchdog journalism and storytelling. We need to connect. We're a divided society. We need the storytelling through the journalism to reconnect us on one shared truth, on one shared reality. Local media companies, to my chagrin, I have seen, just atrophy. I'm excited that this can fight that atrophy.
Yeah.
And it's really a classic market to where, all right, this is a very mature market,
Yeah.
and it's just going to continue to go down. It's not dead, but it's not healthy either. Something has to emerge, and I believe this nonprofit model. It's not perfect, but I think it gives back local autonomy. It is less. You unshackle yourself from all the legacy print, or hey, I have to have horoscopes and spend money on comics, and I'm doing sports, and I'm everything to everybody.
Yeah.
You can really get into niche, unique to the community, problem solving, community connecting journalism.
Yes.
So apparently I do get excited about that.
Yeah, I can see that too. You're lighting up again, man. Getting pumped about it. So then I'm gonna divide those two. So there's consulting work that you're doing, fractional work that you're doing, that you're going to continue to do, and tell us a little bit about that work, like what your brand or your flavor of fractional work is, so that people know, okay, I need to hire Troy to solve this, to give me this transformation. Tell us that, and then we'll talk about about Press Onward after that.
Yeah, and it's really the way I would frame it is that I've accumulated a broad set of transferable skills, largely in problem solving, process improvement, project management, financial forecasting. So there's this whole host of, I'm not going to tell somebody how to write a better story or to sell advertising better, but want help and coach on making a better culture, process improvement, streamlining an operation. That can happen within the industry. What I'm finding in the industry is that, kind of due to the consolidation of all this corporatization, a lot of there's not a lot of need for consulting anymore. It's kind of like, now we've got a big corporate. So I've actually been successful in the nonprofit area, to where, sitting on boards and getting a network, they have a lot of challenges. How do you centralize services? Look at my technology, coach up my CEO. We're looking at a merger. Can you help us with a merger and do the due diligence? So it's really just bringing kind of that structure and GSD. I mean, it's really
Mm-hmm.
about what kind of scoreboard do you need? Let's get you there. Let's drive.
Right. What are the activities that are going to put points on the board? How do we structure the team? How do we structure our operations so that we're getting the most possible points on the board that matters?
Yeah, I
To
recently
you?
had a client that was real easy, not easy, but all they wanted to do was close down a shop, a print plant. We're looking at a large seven-figure amount, and told them the stories of what my experiences was, and basically they got it done for $100,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's just because they'd never been in that space before. And then the same thing with the nonprofit. It's a merger. It's a CEO change. They have a bunch of facility stuff where their COO is great at program stuff in the nonprofit space, but understanding the phone system and the the maintenance of a house or a school, et cetera, they don't have that skill set. So that's where I think I can add value.
You're filling in gaps. It sounds like you're kind of a Swiss Army knife that way. So you're able to come in and fill in gaps. All right. So that makes sense. Now, am I hearing you correctly? Like it sounds like you're willing to do that for media.
Oh, absolutely. It's a supply and demand issue. I don't think there's not as robust of demand there right
Okay.
now.
Okay. Got it. So
There's
therefore,
still some, but yeah, it's really this. There's not. Yeah, again, I already said it. Not a lot of demand.
yeah, yeah. So you're getting some love from the nonprofit world right now. So you're exploring that. But then if there's anybody that's watching that needs that special flavor of what you do in their media organization, then you're available for
Particularly
those
in the
engagements.
the audience development and revenue. I mean, that's an ongoing battle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. So that's clarifying. And now tell us a little bit more about Press Onward. So it's kind of, in some ways, when we were talking about this off camera, this has to do with your legacy. This has to do with your love and affection for Sonoma County. And so tell us about how all those things come together to make this initiative exciting for you.
One of my life's sayings is leave it better than you found it. I've been blessed to be out here. It's been a great run for me and my family for 11 years in Sonoma County. It's a welcoming place. I'm a small time Southeast Nebraska guy, and where I'm at in Sonoma County, it's ag. Instead of corn and livestock, it's grapes and wines and dairy cattle.
Yeah.
And so I can really relate to the culture and the vibe. And it's the more I started to learn about these nonprofit newsrooms, and particularly in the light of, I knew we were getting sold. I mean, that was kind of a top secret inside, for the last 2 years, I saw this coming.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, just gotta, if the conditions are such where somebody big comes in and they start corporatizing this town was really proud of its local ownership. So it had been, in a very robust newspaper too. I mean, one of the compelling reasons to come out here was, they weren't grinding for, give me 3% profit margin and we're happy.
Yeah.
The group that bought the paper really wanted to value the journalism, and it worked. The Press Democrat won a Pulitzer Prize for their coverage of a big fire event. The community is very proud of it, but that has changed and will change now that it's part of basically the national norm.
Yeah,
is commoditizing this and regionalizing this and driving economies of scales, which are the natural things to do in a mature business. But the journalism suffers.
Yeah.
And so this model just really, really resonated. And so I built a business plan. I was working with people from the American Journalism Project. Now, Johnny, you should look up the Newswell. It's a branch of the Arizona State University Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, where they're providing support services for nonprofit newsrooms.
Okay.
If I go back to, so I can partner with them, plug into their benefits, their payroll, their finance, their liability insurance, and the funding that I then have is focused on hiring and paying for the local journalist and standing that up. So it's really kind of turnkey. It's only a 2-year-old. They have effort. It's a nonprofit itself. It's got 8 titles in San Diego, 1 in Santa Barbara, 1 in Stockton.
Yeah.
They're moving into suburban Chicago. So there's these organizations and this infrastructure they're getting muscle. And so once you start, it encouraged me to say, all right, that was a little bit of a wild hair idea, stand up a nonprofit newsroom. It's like, no, this is robust and happening.
Yeah. Congratulations, man.
And then the more you go out and talk to prospective donors, they get it. They're trepid because, one, well, maybe the Press Democrat's still doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
My argument is, you're right, but okay isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And let's play this forward 5 years and look at what, empirically, what has happened in other markets like this. And it still needs to be augmented. And if we can grow the muscle, we can replace certain aspects
Mm-hmm.
as it atrophies even more. So do you get a lot of excitement? But if it's just backing Troy Niday, to stand this up versus a partnership with an organization that has other things, we're rescaling and approaching our fundraising that way. So excited about the learnings I've had so far, and getting through the holidays, and then kind of taking this thing. It'll be my scoreboard event. Q1 and Q2 are about scoreboard.
Yes. And scoreboard for you is what? Donors?
Yep. Just getting.
Okay. Yeah. So then next question. So we've got so your next right step, right? Well, let's even just use the framework we were talking about. Next right step has to do with putting numbers on the board, getting donors in the new year, and basically funding the initiative, which you are obviously passionately willing to oversee and to steward into the future.
Absolutely.
Now, as far as your next right person or your next right people, who are the people that you'd like to be coming across your doorstep right now? And this can be for either your consulting fractional side or for the Press Onward Sonoma County news organization side that you're founding.
I guess I'd answer that in 2 ways for the Press Onward side. One is, kind of that battleship donor. There are a couple that we're talking to that, it's kind of who's first. I could say, hey, look, Johnny's contributing at this level. He believes in it. Oh, well, Johnny's believing in it. I'm on board. So it's really, breaking kind of that fast. We're already on the scoreboard to a certain degree, but not to that point to, this individual not only is supportive, they put money on the table, they put skin in the game. That's one very important element. The other is finding the right content leader. I've done everything in media except write stories and sell advertising. And so I have a good and strong opinion of where I think stories should be written.
Right.
Framing a content roadmap versus executing one are 2 different things. So I really need, that next right person is kind of, the other side of the coin of the heart and soul of the organization as far as executing and helping drive the content strategy. What exactly are we delivering and how are we?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all very clear. This has been a great interview. It's been great spending time with you, Troy. I love what you're doing. I believe in you. I mean, I'm sold on you.
Appreciate that, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us today.
You bet. Thank you.
And everybody who stayed with us to this point, I'll keep bringing you great conversations with great people who are doing interesting things, swinging for the fences in the media space. And we'll see y'all next time. So take it easy, everybody.